Welcome to our presentation on motivation. Have you ever worked with someone that just doesn't seem to care about their job, or worked with a client who says they have a goal, but yet all their behaviors indicate tasks that don't support their goal? This topic is going to go over many strategies that you can use to motivate someone at work, whether it's fitness related or not, motivate a client, or motivate a sports team. There are two basic kinds of motivation, intrinsic and extrinsic. Intrinsic is a self-determined factor. So someone wants to do something out of the pure motivation from within themselves. Extrinsic motivation has a locus of control external to oneself. Examples include pleasing another person, achieving something that someone believes to be desirable to society, or monetary compensation. There are many subtypes of motivation. That person that just doesn't seem to care about their job or doesn't display any actions that support their goals likely has amotivation, meaning a lack of caring towards that particular activity or goal. Extrinsic motivation at first actually seems a little bit intrinsically driven, but the key is that there is a locus of control outside of the individual. There are four subtypes: integrated, identified, introjected, and external. Integrated regulation focuses on an outcome. Someone wants to achieve outcomes like winning or a certain sales value, but it's outcome focused. Identified regulation is when a person believes that a behavior is highly valued and accepted. A lot of times in our society, we see this with extroversion, where introverts may believe that extroversion is a highly valued behavior, and therefore they try to display it more often. Introjected regulation is when there's an internal pressure, motivated by oneself's own pressure, to impress someone else or do something because of someone else. And true external regulation is when there's a reward, like a trophy or more time in the gym or an ice cream cone, where there's something truly tangible coming in from the outside that a person wants. This is the opposite of intrinsic motivation, which is self-directed. There are three major kinds of intrinsic motivation. The first is knowledge, where someone is motivated to learn something. The second is accomplishment, where someone wants to create something or master something. And the third one is stimulation, such as it's fun to do this or it's exciting to do this. The way you interact with your clients and your coworkers can influence intrinsic motivation. The basic rule is that you can increase intrinsic motivation if you increase information about competence. So for example, if you say, hey, great job, I noticed that you got XYZ done in less time today, you're giving a person specific feedback about their increased competence in a true compliment. Ways to decrease intrinsic motivation are displaying controlling behaviors or implying a lack of confidence. An example is saying, we're going to change your pay structure to give you this commission only if you achieve this particular goal. You may be implying to your team in this that they lack the confidence to achieve the goal, and now you're going to control their salary because of it. There are many ways that you can actually increase intrinsic motivation. Here are some sample tactics. One is creating successful experiences. For example, sometimes I work with a client and I say, you know what, let's add another level of detail to that exercise. Let's have a successful experience with this motion today. Another way is making a reward based clearly on performance. This is different than an outcome. Remember that outcomes are extrinsically driven. So for example, I noticed that you worked today for 4 hours without taking a break. I'm going to reward you with XYZ. Simple verbal and nonverbal praise can also be very effective in motivating others, such as, "Good job. I noticed that you did XYZ today." Or nonverbal praise, such as just a pat on the back. In the fitness realm and in the sports realm, varying the content and sequence of practice sessions can be a very effective way to keep people interested, integrated, and motivated. However, you don't want to vary it too much or they might become confused and lost. It's always smart to start the day with a little set induction and say, "This is what we're going to focus on today. This is the lay of the land today." And then we're going to finish the session with this particular exercise or drill or activity. Generally, if you involve the participants in the decision-making process, you'll increase their autonomy and their intrinsic motivation. As a final strategy, rewarding performance goals can be very effective. So saying, "Hey, I noticed you stayed 15 minutes after to complete that presentation, and because of that, this presentation was outstanding for reasons A, B, and C." This is a different reward than rewarding an outcome, where you might say, "Hey, we closed that sales client because you stayed 15 minutes late to work with them." So this one focuses on the goal instead of the outcome. Sometimes people wonder, well, if I add an external motivator to an internal motivator, won't that just increase a person's motivation exponentially? And unfortunately, research has shown us that naturally intrinsically motivated people may actually become demotivated when you add that external reward. However, there are some basic rules where adding an external reward does seem to help most people become more motivated. Here are some of those basic rules. One is if you recognize competence versus trying to demonstrate control. So if I give you a bonus based on the fact that you've achieved certain things at work, not outcome related, but just process related, that could increase your intrinsic motivation with this external reward. However, if you use it in a controlling manner, saying such as, "If you hit the sales goal," which may be unreasonable, "then I'm going to give you this particular bonus," you actually might decrease their motivation. External rewards are also very helpful when a person doesn't have their own intrinsic motivation. So maybe somebody is coming to a workout class just because you hand out free vouchers for personal training afterwards. That can be an effective method of compliance to get the person to attend, but it is not intrinsically motivated. Extra rewards can also be helpful if they are behavior contingent. So if they're based on a person's actions, both verbal and nonverbal, instead of based on an outcome. And they are also very effectively used when you use them in limited quantities to actually enhance a person's self-determination and intrinsic motivation. If you're constantly handing out ribbons of participation or trophies, it doesn't increase intrinsic motivation, and it may actually decrease the value of the reward to people. Here are some things not to do. Generally, we don't want to demotivate the people we work with, whether it's at work, in a fitness environment, or in a sport. Intimidation, criticism, sarcasm, using exercise as a punishment, and guilting a person all start decreasing a person's motivation to participate and do well. In summary, we've covered the basic differences between intrinsic and extrinsic motivation, as well as some helpful tactics and examples to help motivate people and avoid demotivating people. If you have any questions, please contact your instructor. Here are some additional resources on motivation. There's several books on motivational interviewing, which can be very useful tactics in working with clients of any variety. PT on the Net has some resources on motivation. The Gen and MSB Library have resources. And the reference used in creating this presentation cited here can be another great resource with further information. Thank you.